Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Autopsy with Maddee P. I'm your host, Maddee P. Yes, I got a new microphone, and I don't look decrepit. You're welcome. The audio was not my favorite. We were having some issues, and we have a very special guest coming on soon, and we need some professionalism up in this beat. So we have a new microphone. Yes, and I don't look crusty and dusty. You're welcome. Last week, what did we talk about last week? I can't even remember anything anymore. Oh, last week we talked about a little bit about spirituality, about luck, manifestation. So if you missed it, hit that link, queen. And if you missed it and you're not a spiritual girl, don't worry about it. We have so much to yap about today. I don't really have a warm up. Again, I was going to come on here and talk about daiquiris because I live in Charleston. So I thought it could be fitting for us to talk about it. But here's the deal. I don't give a fuck. I don't go out per se a ton. I'm not really into daiquiris anymore. It did cause me to start watching Southern Hospitality. I'm on episode 3, season 1. Come to find, I have found a comfort show. You know why? Because we have another La Kent. Because we have Miss Maddie Reese, who is also sober of 8 years and somehow fabulously manages a restaurant with a bunch of drunks. And something about that, seeing these girls in those fields sober, it really helps me. And it's things that I watch before I get ready, or if I want to go out, but I'm not sure or whatever, I look to these women who say, no, we have fun. We party around these parts, whether we're sober or drunk. So I will say I'm thankful for Zachary's Daiquiris for putting me onto the show. Will I be going there? No. On another note, Bumpa's Bar and Grill is closing. One of the saddest days of my life. One of the only places I go as a sober person. They love me. I love them. I'm very upset. And I was going to come on here and talk about small businesses, yada, yada, yada. The liquor licenses apparently in the South are way out of hand, which is just like mind blowing because this city revolves around people being drunk. So when this city stops being drunk, everyone's going to lose their money. I hope everyone, I hope everyone is aware of that. So I'm deeply disturbed by some of our small businesses leaving. Came to find Zachary's Daiquiris is indeed not whatsoever a small business. So they're not missing out. And I'm happy about that. That's really all I have for warm up. I am going to introduce you to how I am doing this podcast. So we've got a few categories we're working between. We've got relationships. We've got spirituality. We've got straight sobriety. We've got defects. We're kind of working around the clock with these, right? So this week, we were talking about friendship, relationships. See how they go together? Yep. So we're going to start bouncing around. This way, when you click on the YouTube and you're looking for something in particular, you can just find it and you don't have to go through all the shit. All of me yapping or talking about a subject you don't care about. And I was going to introduce you guys to a different side of myself because it's C4 Friday. C4 Friday. It is C4 Friday. If you guys are not aware, I drink coffee throughout the week, but Friday through Sunday, it is C4 o'clock. C4 Friday, C4 Saturday, C4 Sunday. It sure is. But I have a coffee left over from yesterday, and I'm saving that C4 for my precious shift when I'm tired. So you're not going to get to see the C4 side of Maddie, but she's really threatening. And she has a lot to say, and she's like this. So one day you'll get to meet her, but today is not that day. We're going to let you be today. We're going to let you be. Like I said, we're talking about friendship. We're going to talk about it in several aspects. We're going to talk about what it looks like in sobriety. We are going to talk about friendship in general, what it looks like, where we are lacking, and where we could benefit from changing our lens once again when it comes to relationship. Also, I was doing my hair in my bathroom, like had my hair slicking it back, went to go bring my arm down and slammed it on the light switch. So that hurty. Anywho, of course, we have a quote for this week. It is, a true friend is someone who knows all about you and still loves you. See, this is the direction we're headed in. So I think there's a misconception with sobriety that when you're choosing that path, you have to redo your whole life. And yes, we do have to start from ground zero, like we've discussed. But in terms of cutting people out, I did not cut a single soul out. Of course, like dealers and such, or just really, really, really heavy party friends that basically it's like a vat of water. You pull yourself up and they just fall right off. But I did not cut anyone in my immediate circle out. People were aware of what I was going through, and I didn't have it in me or care about who was going to stay and go. I just cared about getting healthier and to a place that I could be sober and actually maybe keep that way. And I recommend that. It's exhausting to cut people out. It's exhausting to overanalyze people. And I didn't even know what protection for myself looked like. I didn't know what boundaries looked like. I didn't know what I was even protecting myself from. Come to find, a lot of it was I was just protecting myself from me. And I have to have boundaries for myself too. And I think it's hard when we're asked to make such critical decisions so early on. That's it. I didn't cut people out. I don't think you need to. I think you should focus on things happening naturally in your sobriety. And I'm just going to talk about this for a split second, because sometimes when I talk about a certain subject and I get passionate, I act like it's directed towards you, and it's not. You're part of me. I'm not directing this at you. But if you're getting sober, you're in early stages of sobriety, there's something about improving yourself, about getting better, that other people do take personally. You tell them that you're changing. You tell them you're going through something that benefits you. They take it as a personal attack. I'm not sure what it is. I used to do this too. Like if someone told me, oh, I don't drink anymore, whatever. Like, okay, bitch, you think you're better than me? And it's just part of it. It's not something that we get over, and it's not something that people change about themselves. We can hope that they're there for you. We can hope that people actually love us behind closed doors, but we can feel that they don't for some reason. And it took me by surprise, some of the people that fell into this category, because it's people that you wouldn't think. And it just goes to show that they're hurting a lot more than we think. And that's why it's important in sobriety that we heal very loudly. We heal out loud to the people that are close to us, because we really never know just how close an addict, just how close an alcoholic is. It's one of those things. It's like if the shoe fits, and wear it. And I know I've lost some friends that way that I really wish I hadn't, but there's nothing I can do about that. All I can do is be authentic. All I can do is represent my best self and try to show people I'm actually embarrassed by this, or I used to be. This wasn't me telling people because I thought I was better than them. This is me telling you so that you have my back when push comes to shove and I want to drink. This is me holding accountability and telling people near me that I'm not allowed to, and that you have to rip it out of my hands. Unfortunately, I'm now giving you this task because it's not safe for me to drink alcohol. And I just wanted to share that if you're not introduced to that yet, don't blame people for it, because I know I was deeply insecure, and I can think back to times where I thought that too. And it's just like the cycle of life. But I will say I immediately feel unsafe around those types of people, and I can feel judgment from like a mile away. But I have to be careful with when I think I feel judgment, because I spent so long judging myself, still spend so many hours judging self, that I just am so insecure when it comes to that. And I have to be careful when I sense judgment, because oftentimes it can be an insecurity from self feeling judgment. When I've been judged for so long, you don't want that anymore. And I'm trying to flip that within myself, it's hard on the exterior. And what to trust as judgment and what to trust as me having a huge ego and thinking somebody gives that much of a fuck about me, or me taking something personally that actually has nothing to do with me, because I don't get to live in a victimized state anymore. I don't get to be upset that somebody maybe inherently gave me this look instead of that look, or whatever it is, And I think a big point with friendship in the beginning is that I've said this before, but we're learning how to fit into life now. We're not teaching the world, right? Same with how I use the example of I am telling you in terms of accountability for self. I didn't expect people to care. I think most people who get sober don't expect people to care, because in my brain it was like, yeah, thank God, finally. Like, I don't deserve an applause for this, for finally getting to a point where I realize I'm sick, you know? And I know I didn't expect any support from anyone. And I think it is an important outlook to go into it with, because it shows you who really cares when you don't expect anybody to care. And I was really quiet about it at the beginning because I thought I would fail. For the most part, I thought I would fail. And I wanted to have a backup plan when I wanted to fail. I wanted to be able to walk into a bar close to my job and drink without somebody coming up and bothering me, which would never happen at any bar near my work now. I don't think anyone would let me drink. So, and I know we touched a little bit on like competitiveness with women. And like I said, with the part of getting sober and people judging you inherently for that, pretty immediate, which is reality, and it's not something that I make up. I think a lot of the time, women are competitive. We talked about it. It's just the way it is. I've been competitive on so many accounts. I'm sure you've been competitive on many counts, and there are people underneath that. There are women underneath that, and I know I expressed my feeling of disconnection because I need feminine energy for my connection, for my friendships, for my life. It's just really important to me that I keep that energy around me. And I expressed and said, to me, we're supposed to be united. We're not enemies like a lot of people think we are. And that competitiveness looms over us and it creates an enemy out of each other. And I had to learn to look really deep down into people so that I wasn't isolating myself, so that I wasn't feeling like women are now turning against me in a lot of ways, right? And this is referring to almost like the public and being out and being social versus people very close to us, because I'm not referring to my friends, obviously, or people in my life. But there is an air that looms around when we're walking the streets, you know, like when we're going to Target, and it chastise me. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the word. It alienates me pretty immediately. Even if I don't know these people, and I get deeply insecure, and I've had to work on this. And I think that's why I lashed out when I spoke about the competitiveness with women, because I was feeling super alienated, and it's sometimes it's hard for me to make friends. And I just want to urge you to see that there is women underneath all that pain and underneath all of that insecurity. And they deep down know that we are on the same team, whether they express that or not. But deep down innately, we all know it. All of our uteruses are connecting in the sky. We know it. I know that they know it. So anyways, that just helped me socially with going out, yada, yada. And one thing that showed me when I got sober, and it's almost like when I think back to it, it's just really sweet. But obviously I work food and bev. Obviously, I'm around liquor, wine, and beer, specifically Luna's tequila that we have talked about all the time, every single day. So friends of mine obviously know I'm not triggered by seeing alcohol or smelling it or really like being around it, because I'm very used to it. And there are friends of mine that are close to me that even who know that fact still ask, is it okay if I do this around you? Is it okay if I have this? And they know it's fine. It's a redundant question. And it's so sweet. It really showed me who cared for me deep down. Even though they're asking a redundant question, they care about my safety and they care about my mental, emotional well-being. And it really showed me people who care about me, and care about my sobriety. And I think we underestimate how many people are affected by addiction, affected by alcoholism, maybe not necessarily themselves, but people who have seen it or unfortunately dealt with it in a familial basis, or had friends or whatever the case is. We are too grown to act like we don't know how addiction works. We're too grown to act like we haven't been personally affected by all of it. So if you have a friend that turns their back on all of it and doesn't really give a fuck, we're kind of too old for that shit. You know, it's like, you know what an addict is like. You know what an alcoholic is like. So now you're choosing to kind of not be there for that person emotionally. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but now you show me where we lie. So I think sometimes I do take some of that personally, especially if I know someone. Like, it's just like, girl, you've seen it. I will use this instance. I've only had a few instances of this kind of happening because I obviously don't go out very much. I'm kind of hesitant to talk about it, but I'm going to because I think it's a good education kind of basis and like a good advocacy for this. I was going out one time and a friend of mine who I trusted, there was cocaine, cocaine is the only substance I really prefer not to see. And people close to me know that. It's Charleston. It's literally a coke demic. There's coke everywhere. Not a lot of my friends do coke. Honestly, it's funny because I was the one doing it. And if my friends did it, it's because I had it. Once I stopped doing coke, no one was really doing coke anymore. But they know better. They know. Because if I see it, it's just like, I can't shake it. It's just like a big trigger for me. And it triggers my brain for alcohol instead of Coke. And I think that goes with the dichotomy of addiction versus alcoholism in the brain and what that looks like for my life. So I don't need to see cocaine. It triggers, messes with me a little bit. And it was abruptly put in front of my face, very immediate, while I was already kind of in a pretty emotional state. I didn't even react. I didn't know what to do, kind of. I just kind of like walked out of the room. And it shows me that there are people out there that care about me, and there are people who love me, and there are people who care about my emotional well-being. And it shows like a hater in people a little bit, unfortunately. And so I just wanted to use that as an example for the line being drawn of what is comfortable for you and what is not. And for a lot of people, it should be kind of self-explanatory, right? Where you lie and people around you are probably pretty immediate to know what is what and what the fuck they should be doing. So that was the one experience I had. But the reason I say that too is because I don't blame that person. That is all my responsibility. It is my responsibility I can't see cocaine. It is my fault that I can't see cocaine. This has nothing to do with them living their life on my agenda. That's not how life works. So do I blame this person? No. Do I go after this person? No. Do I even mention it ever again? No. But do I take a mental note and make sure for the rest of my life, I hope I'm not put in a situation like that from here on out? Yeah. And I think it's important we don't blame people. It's important we don't hold people accountable. It's important that we let people live and that we take it and we do what we're meant to with it. We don't blame people because they're not an addict. It's not their fault. It's not their problem. Now you know where they should stay in your life, and it ain't close. Let me tell you that. And I feel like going out too, we learned that. So we'll talk about this more in another episode, but I don't go out, right? I thought when you got sober that you now had to be a person that lived by the philosophy of you can have fun without alcohol. I thought that was the case. I thought that that's just how it worked now. So I would say like, okay, yeah, I don't mind going out, like whatever. I couldn't, and I knew I couldn't deep down. So I would just lie and say I wasn't feeling well or whatever it was. Push come to shove. I don't know why it takes us so long to learn these little things, guys, but I realized, I don't have to fucking do this. The fuck? I get to do whatever the hell I want. I don't need to go to a party. I don't need to go out if I don't want to. Like, especially in the beginning, it was too hard for me. I can't get out of the mental state of you being drunk, or us being in a club. It's too much for me while I'm sober. It's too intense, and I want to stay on this path. I don't want to give in because let me tell you, being triggered, for me, I fear it doesn't look like I would drink in that moment. It looks like I would fucking ruminate and do that shit 2 days later, or in a few weeks versus in that moment. And we'll talk more about kind of going out and all of that. But we do learn that when we go out, what's fucking fun? Pretty much nothing anymore, actually, in case you're wondering. Not much. But what is fun is the people. The reason I go is to laugh, to giggle with my friends, to be there, and to look hot, right? That's why we go out still as sober people, is to be hot and to have a good time with our friends. And when you find people that really make you feel so good, make you feel so loved, and make you laugh and have so much fun that you're able to kind of release what I just discussed, release the part of obsessing over them drinking or whatever, and you're just able to have a good time, you need to keep those people close as fuck. That is your tribe. Those are people who are meant to be in your life and in your heart. Those are people who are now spiritually connected to you, I think. And there's only very few people in life that we meet like that. Very, very few. And so I think in sobriety, the most important thing, obviously the opposite of addiction, they say, is connection. So one of the most important things is friendship. I didn't want to change my life and have a whole bunch of new sober friends. And we'll discuss more of what that looks like, but what I kind of look for in people now. But I'm a kid, and you can't take the party out of the girl, like you can take the girl out of the club. You're not taking the club out of the girl, I like to have fun. And most of us addicts, alcoholics do. So this is why, and Lindsay Lohan said this, we treat our friends like queens and kings. Lindsay Lohan is crazy, but she's clutch for saying that because it's so true. We should be treating our friends this way. They should be familiar based to us. We should be there for them and excited for them, and helpful to them, and treat them as you would your sibling or as somebody very, very close to you. And I heard that a long time ago from Lindsay Lohan, and I really sided with it because, like I said, I struggle with connection, and the few people that I really have, I am so beyond grateful for, and they are very important to me. So keep that in mind. You should be treating your girlfriends like queens if you're not already. And I think we often just expect too much of people when they're just living their lives. And I think we forget at this age that we are all doing the best that we can. We are all doing the best that we can. And then we overanalyze and expect so much out of these people. And it's more than you would ask of yourself. If you want an off day, you're fine. You get an off day. Your friend wants an off day. It's a huge issue now, and they don't love you. And it's ridiculous. I don't know how it's gotten to that place. But we're really expectant, and it's far too out of hand. And for me, I learned that they do love me. People do love me, and I just can't, if I can't see it, it's my own fault. It's because I'm not being grateful, and I'm overanalyzing, and I'm asking for more. And that's what a lot of relationships looked like in my life. And I will say, this is, again, hard for me to say, but we're here to be vulnerable. And a lot of people side with this. So I'm just going to say it. I spent a lot of time using people. It was a really big part of my life. A lot of my relationships and friendships that I had revolved around me using people. And it makes me very, very upset still. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's just because it's so against my character maybe and who I actually am that it reminds me of how bad alcohol and drugs took me over, to the point that I'm now using a good handful of people in my life. And I think that you guys face that too. And we do get over it. We are able to heal kind of from the pain that looks like from using people when you're not somebody that it's the case for you. So that kind of ties into that. I think a lot of people are probably like, we treat our friends fine, you fucking bitch. But I don't know. All of us have flaws. All of us have an issue with punctuality, and maybe an issue with texting back, an issue with time management, or whatever the case may be for your friend. We level each other out. And maybe that goes back to me asking too much of people and expecting too much of people. I think it boils down a lot to that, and maybe I'm alone in that sector. But I just wish that I could wake myself up and be like, why do you think everyone needs to be perfect? Because you're far from it. And your friend who is poor with their time management, that doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean they don't love you. It means that they suck at their time management and they're stressed in their life, and you're adding more to the plate. And I think as friends, we forget that we add a lot to people's plates sometimes. Our constant complaints, or you're not seeing me, like whatever the hell it is, you're adding stuff to people's plate and causing drama where drama doesn't need to be. I know I struggled with that, and I don't know what it was, but I just wanted to tell you that it's fine that your friend's too boy crazy. It's fine that your friend never shows up. It's fine. She's fucking like 20, 25. Give it a rest. You know, obviously this goes different if you're having serious issues with your friend, yada, yada. You're seeing a bunch of red flags about things. And again, I think we're training ourselves so way too hard to find these fucking red flags. That we can't even see the green. Like everything is a red flag to us now. You're a red flag. This is a red flag. We're fucking people. We're people. And we all pretend for some reason that we don't have these issues. We all have issues. We all have things that we fall short. It's just a reality of things. And we balance each other out. Our friendships balance each other out in those ways where I'm not boy crazy at all. I might have a friend who's boy crazy. I can kind of help them level that playing field. In my head, am I kind of like, oh God, there's a lot of stuff that comes with this and you might be a little boy crazy. Yeah, of course I do. But I support that person. And we don't, I think, let our friends learn things on their own. And maybe this comes from me having the ultimate best friend and having a sister and the luxury of getting the ultimate best friend and getting the ultimate sister. So I had to do this with myself, stopping myself from trying to teach her things that she's going to learn on her own. But same goes for friendship. And I found myself almost trying to, this is ridiculous. I can't believe you haven't learned this lesson. This is like the 5th time, blah, blah, blah. We learn through life. Friends are meant for support. We're not parents and we're not a spouse. We are meant simply for support. That is what friendship is for, is to uplift each other. And I think it's important to remember in all relationships that life is going to teach them what they need to learn. Sometimes obstacles, sometimes lessons have to be rendered into somebody 15 times. Sometimes it takes 20 broken hearts before that girl understands her worth. And that's okay. It's not your business. Your business is to sit there and support her. And if you have an issue, you should probably look inward with that. Of course, there are cases, yada, yada, but you know what I'm referring to. And I think like being sober too and picking people out, we can see motives now. It's like we can see through the air in certain ways. We can see past bullshit, I think is what it is now. We can see past masks. And if you feel that from somebody, you can feel their mask going down and you're seeing new sides. You're like having a revelation on who the fuck this person actually is. You're like, oh, what the fuck am I doing? It's real, and follow your gut. But I think it's just really, really important, especially in early sobriety, to not be afraid of loneliness. And I know it was too much pressure for me to let go of anybody. It was too much pressure for me to be that lonely. But it's really important that you get acquainted with that now, that you are going to be lonely, because even in your relationships, nobody is really experiencing the same thing you're experiencing, especially as a sober person. People are not in your brain. They don't understand you. And it's important that we as sober people especially go out on limbs to reach people, because we're pretty far in. And we're in our own world. We're in our own box. So we now have the responsibility to kind of go a little further out on that limb to reach people a little bit differently. And I think one of my biggest issues with loneliness, and almost like with the topic of feeling like I'm the only person in the room when the room is full kind of deal, I had a really big issue connecting with people. And the gap existed, whether I was so close to them, whether I understood them, whatever the case was, there was a gap between me and them. And it was because they weren't me. And it was always kind of my fault when it boils down to it. And I thought I was just inherently lonely. And it was this feeling of the fact I'm always misunderstood and nobody gets me. We're so different from each other. That's not what friendship is. That's not what connection is. And maybe that's just me that had that skewed vision of it. We aren't the same, and that's the beauty in it. The same how it's fun for us to get to know ourselves. It is so fun to get to know the other person. Like, introduce me to your playground. What is your life like? You're not in my brain, right? We're two different people. This is so cool. What a cool dichotomy. Okay, I'm me. You're you. Let's go. And I didn't understand that. I thought I'm supposed to be the same as somebody. I thought everyone was the same as their friends and like they connected. And it was always, now I'm realizing after a long time that it was always me that ensued that. It was my fault. Because we don't go out on a limb and we don't let people know how we're really feeling, and we aren't willing to listen. I think that's a really big issue in friendship. We're not willing to listen, and we tune people out when they start talking about something they like or whatever it is. And you're just like, oh yeah. Okay. Well, that's a new thing that you know about that person. You know, I don't know where I'm trying to get at, but I just think it was always my fault that the gap existed. And people being two different people is a beautiful concept to me now. And I understand that it is simply no one else's job for my emotional well-being. It is mine. That's the only person whose job it is. It is my job to regulate myself. It is my job to keep myself in a place where I am kind and generous and wanting more in my relationships, wanting more in my friendships, and yearning for connection with other people. That is my job. When that slips, I've got some stuff to take care of. I've got some house cleaning to do. Okay? So I think that feeling like you're the only person in the room, it takes just a smidge bit of perspective change and viewing everybody as your own person. And I think that that's what it required for me. So I'm not sure if you chronically suffer from that too, but, and again, this whole podcast could be me just revealing my brain and the way it works instead of anyone siding with this and understanding where I'm coming from. But with a lot of friendships, I felt for a long time that people's problems were minute and what they were going through wasn't worth a 10-minute spiel and me just sitting there like this. I hated it. And I'm like, no one's going through shit. Like, you ain't going through shit. Well, first of all, if you aren't aware, trauma registers similarly in every brain. So say somebody's been kidnapped and taken to a different country versus somebody has been cheated on after being in a relationship for 15 years and getting a divorce or whatever the case is. Trauma still registers very same in the brain, irregardless the circumstance, right? And so it's important to give people space and leeway. Now, I don't feel this way anymore. I never thought I would hit this place, but it is an honor for people to come to you and open up. It is an honor for people to trust you, and you shutting somebody down or not listening to them and their alleged minute struggles. What if you're the only person that they feel safe enough to get things out to? And that's why it's always you. And what if they finally open up about something you weren't listening or couldn't give a fuck or thought it was small, and they walk away like, oh, okay then, damn, I guess I shouldn't feel that way. No, that sucks. And sometimes it takes a lot of courage for people to share. I know in my relationships, like, I'm so good at sharing in my sobriety and with people who share the program with me or with loved ones. It can be hard for me to expose myself in friendships because I feel I have all my bases covered. I feel I am emotionally handled on a lot of fronts. But we discussed before that trust is built when we show others that we trust them. That is when trust is built. And I had to recognize I have to tell people about my life. I have to vent about certain things. I have to listen and get things out in order for them to see, oh, you trust me and we're sharing this now. We're helping each other. We're lifting each other up. And it is really important that we listen to our friends. No matter how minute, no matter how dumb the fucking story is, you don't have an excuse. Now, if you're in a relationship where you feel like this person is coming to you with every little trivial thing, express it and just say, hey, I'm so sorry, but this is like kind of emotionally a lot for me to handle. Can we like do this in sessions? Can we split this up? However you want to go about your personal life. But I'm just saying that you are probably being not the best friend if you think that your friend's problems are minute and it's not fair and you're judging them behind their back. Even if it's just to yourself, you're now being judgmental and condescending about your friend. We're not supposed to be that way. Even to ourselves, we're not supposed to say that stuff. So I think that's another thing too, is like making sure that the inside is a clean space. I think a lot of people think just because they're not saying something about somebody out loud, or they're like that they're clean, you know, or that like they're nice as fuck. And I know for me that I thought I was really nice because I didn't say anything, but in reality, I'm still internally judging this person. And it makes me feel trapped, and I'm not supposed to be doing that. And now I get to try to have a point in my brain where it shuts off with judgment, especially because I'm so bad at it. And I think it stems, maybe I've had a revolution. It stems from me being insecure and judgmental myself. And I wonder if that's not the basis of all women and this whole competitive thing that's happened. Anywho, that was a lot. See, today is, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting more and more boring considering all 10 people that watch this. I don't know. I've struggled a lot with connection and with friendship, and realizing a lot of it was my fault. I think that's like most things in life, is it always boils down to us. At least with me, most things are my fault. unfortunately, in terms of like my psyche and my mental, and it boils down to me. So it is hard for me to make friends. It's not necessarily hard for me to make friends, but it's hard for me to deeply connect with people. And I have had an issue with like light friendship too, of just people I liked. It was just like, what's the point if we're not going deeper, you know? And it's like, for friendship, for girlhood, for unity, for the hangs, for the gigs, girl, like what the fuck are you talking about? And I don't know. I just boiled down to really hating myself and thinking I point blank did not deserve love from anybody. And that they thought that they were making a friend out of me. And I'm like, girl, I suck. You don't want this. You don't want this shit in your life. As dead ass how I thought, what I thought. And it kept me from probably making some really good friendships. Oh, and going back, I know it's cheesy, but with the topic of your friend talking too much or whatever you think, people, it's cheesy, it's been said before, people want to be heard, they don't want a resolution. So if you haven't heard that before, I say it to myself all the time. People do not want a resolution. They want support and they want to be heard. So, and that's the issue a lot of men have too, obviously, where they want to fix it. And we want to fix our friends. We want to fix things. And it's just not our place. It's not our place. Our single job is to be supportive. And this is like another random one, but I think it's because I'm hitting an age now. And I'm actually kind of proud of this thought process, but I'm hitting an age now where my friendships are really healthy. They're very important to me, and I understand the importance of them and how close they need to remain to me. But people are getting married now. People are having kids. People have long-term boyfriends. This is how life works, you guys. This is how life works. You get a husband, you get a boyfriend, you spend your time with them. Then you get a husband, then you have kids. You have light friendships on the side. This is your life. Family is your life. And I think we blame people for that. And I have a really very deep understanding of where boyfriend lies in my friend's heart. And that is her future, and that is her life. And to ask people to take away time, or that you're less important, or that you feel less important inherently or whatever, it's just not fair. This is how life works. I am single. I have to understand my friends have obligations. They have a life to live. If I was in that place, I would hope somebody would be that way to me as well while I'm in love, while I'm happy and healthy. This does not mean your friends don't care about you. And I think that especially refers to single people at our age, because I feel at times it can feel kind of frustrating. But that's how life works. And if you're going to be single, you're going to be alone. You're just going to be alone. Your friends are busy. They have boyfriends. Sorry. And I think that kind of goes with when we say that our girlfriends spend too much time with their boyfriends. In some cases, this can be very true. And I have had a few relationships in the past where I've had to like completely cut a few girls clean, because it was just like it's very clear you don't give a fuck about me anymore, like beyond clear. But there are other relationships where it kind of like teeters on that, and we get jealous, we get infuriated, we need this person, right? They're experiencing happiness and they're experiencing peace. And the phone goes two ways. I hate if I feel as though, okay, so I don't hold grudges anymore. I don't like to feel like keeping tabs on people who ask me to hang out when they ask me to hang out. It's fucking bullshit. If you feel like your friend hasn't asked you to hang out, if you feel like it's a one-sided street, reach out to that person, ask them to fucking hang out. Who cares? Reach out, tell them you're upset. Who gives a fuck? We don't have enough time for shit like this. We don't have so much time to be living in this victimized state. And that's the issue with almost everything we discuss, is this disgusting victimization state where we think everything is owed to us, and it's just not realistic. And we don't communicate is a big issue. Like with my friends, if I'm feeling like like this person hasn't reached out to me in a while, okay, I could give a fuck. I'm gonna text them to have a good week. Who gives a shit? Grow up. I just think that whole concept and all of it is just ridiculous. And I think it's because I see so much personal victimization that pisses me the fuck off. I don't know why, but it's a pet peeve for me that we just feel like we're so big in this world, and it ruins friendships for absolutely no reason, because you want to hold somebody accountable for being in love and for being happy, and shame on you for that, honestly. And I have done that in the past. Shame on me for the times I've done that, because that's not what friendship is for. We are here to support. Again, that is the main point of this, is that we support each other. And if you don't think And if your shoe is on the other foot, you don't think friendship is as important, you've let go of some people while you're getting into a relationship, while you're getting into a new place of life, remember who was there for you. Remember who knows you the best, and remember that you can never get girlhood back again until you have girls of your own and you see it. But you don't get girlhood back. We get one childhood. We get one family, we get one girlhood. And it's important that we do that right. And it's important we do it full of giggles and tampons. That's just how I feel about it. So if your shoe's on the other foot, just remember how important your friends are to you. And that there should be time. I have to set apart time in my week all the time. I start going crazy when I don't see people. And like I said, my circle is very small. There are very few people I see outside of my job or see outside of like rooms, whatever. It's very small. But I go crazy if I haven't seen people, and I have to set times in the week aside to just relax and be with friends and be connected and listen to their struggles and what they're going through and be there for them. Even when I don't want to, even if I'm like, I just want to fucking cancel, or I just don't want to do this. It's like, no, you need it. It's important for your heart. It's important for them too. So yeah. And I think oftentimes we think that there's like this big hidden agenda that people have against us. And maybe that's me, the skeptic, the panic, not the word panic, paranoia. That's the paranoid bitch in me, I think, that maybe it's just me, but that these people have a hidden agenda against me to some extent. And I felt that for a long time. No, it's not real. People don't have a hidden agenda. Just reach the fuck out, honestly. Like, and if they do have a hidden agenda, again, you can read that clearly now and call it a day. But for the most part, it's me making that up in my head. And it's because I don't like parts of myself every time. Setting boundaries. And this is where we learn our friendships. This is where we learn who's close to us. For me, like I said, those allotted time periods are those allotted time periods. I'm not spending too long outside of my house, right? When it's time to go, I'm out. And that's because I have a boundary up, because I mentally will get exhausted, depending on the person, place, and thing, right? But if I leave and I'm made to feel bad for that, I can't deal with that relationship, because if I'm made to feel bad for how my time is spent, how my boundaries are illustrated that day, it immediately is not fair to me, and it puts me in a super anxious state for people to like do that to me, whether it's a boy or girl or whoever it is. And I learned very quickly people like that, and I diminished my time with them a good bit until some of them weren't part of my life, because it's just too much. It's too much. I think we don't listen to people when they tell us what they want. And if somebody has a shorter social battery, then they're a cunt all of a sudden, right? They're a huge bitch, instead of just being somebody that knows themselves and knows their space. And boundaries are just really important, and boundaries in friendships. And even though somebody might not be going through sobriety like you, they may not be going through certain changes in their life like you, they can hear you out and just say, hey, so, I did this with a couple people. I'm sober now, and this is kind of how it's going to look friendship wise, XYZ. This is where I kind of stand, and I love you, and I would love if you could illustrate that with me and kind of make that work. And every time I'm supported, time and time again, I'm supported in the most surprising places. Just like I said, I was judged in the most surprising places. I'm also supported in the most surprising places too. Some people who I thought were definitely going to judge me for that were some of the people who were the kindest and the most understanding of that. And we don't give people enough space. Like I said, people are people. And we just spend so much fucking time looking for these red flags that are non-existent. And if anybody is willing to push your boundaries whatsoever, run. I have had this happen on so many occasions that I couldn't even recognize it. And part of it is like that, making you feel bad for something because you want to leave or whatever the case. But there has been several other boundaries that have been crossed in my life that I just was like, oh my God, I feel like such a bitch. I don't want to do this again. But those people do not care about you. They do not care about your emotional well-being. And if you have laid things out for people and they still can't listen to you, it's not worth your energy and it's not worth your time. But like I said, there is just a lack of communication in our friendships and being honest about what we feel about each other. And I have been able to gain my voice, like we talked about, be a lot more honest with my friendships. And yeah. I really protect my time. I really do. That is because I'm crazy. And all I do is work on this podcast, and my future is really important to me. My sobriety is really important to me, but I get lost in the sauce and I get overwhelmed very easily. And I spend my time at home, and I find that boundary pushed more and more and more with people. And I think some of it is healthy in terms of like, Maddie, get the fuck out of the house. And then there's the other hand where it's clear that this person just doesn't care about my sobriety. It's more about them having a good time than you leaving unscathed. And I think that's the more dangerous side and what we need to be careful of. And like I said, it's no one's responsibility to stick up for you. And it's nobody's responsibility who gets stuck in the crossfire. It's nobody's responsibility. So if you need to make that clean cut, that's on you. If you're in a friend group, you make a clean cut, that's on you and that person. It's unfair to be upset at other people in your friend group. It's unfair to be upset with people that are still friends with that person or whatever. And we do too much. Shut up. Life isn't about you. Life isn't about us. Can we just fucking giggle? Take it easy. Take a break. Support your friends. Be there for them. Be honest with them. And I don't know, I didn't mean to scowl at you like that. And I'm not trying to do this. I'm sure you do a lot of these things. These are just things that I've faced. And when I get intense like that, I'm mostly talking to myself. So I'm not trying to yell at you. I'm really trying to fix that. I don't want you to feel threatened by me. I don't know why I do this. I found this to be very true very quickly. People are extremely receptive to issues. People are extremely receptive for the most part. Anyone who is not receptive at this age of you approaching them and being upset about something, it's ridiculous. At this point, you should have a red flag about that person because people are receptive, and defensive people are a huge red flag for me because it shows me a lot about who they are. And if you're not somebody that can have something told about you or have a disagreement, then it's just not going to work, because I'm very different than a lot of people, and I'm willing to go out on that limb. And if you're not, then like, we're just too far apart. It's just not going to work, right? The only thing that changes really in who you are is your actions, and people see that. And people match your pace. We all match what we think the pace is of our friends. And if you get to a point that you're way more open than you think a relationship can tolerate that you're in, or a certain person, that's not true. People are often running at the same speed as you. And as you illustrate and you show people action-based, again, what this life looks like for you and the direction of kindness and of humility that you're headed in, people can often meet you there. And we really help our friends out in this way too. I know so many of my friends recently, I just had like 5 that popped in my head that have taught me such big lessons even recently in my life. And I wouldn't gain that if I didn't stop to listen. And I think that's another big point we haven't discussed yet, is stopping to listen. Literally listening to people, even if it is bullshit. We spend so much time in our own head. At least it's a second to get out and immerse yourself in another being. Immerse yourself in what somebody is going through. We learn so much from each other. Even these friendships, we learn so much, but it is up to us to take everything as a learning opportunity. And I know I did not do that for a long time. Now it's very important. Things are a learning opportunity, and it's up to me to choose that. And it almost makes me a little bit emotional because I'm so thankful for my friends and for the people that have stuck by me and who really understand me. I thought I was going to lose a lot of people when I got sober. I assumed it because of how sick I was. I just assumed nobody wanted to fuck with me anymore. I thought it was weird as fuck. We've talked about it. And to have people stand by me so firmly in this, to exhibit pieces of me in themselves, to take away things from me and I take away things from them in turn, these are the most beautiful relationships, you know? And I'm thinking about, I don't know if she'll mind me talking about this, but I have a really close friend of mine, and I'm going to be in the delivery room with her coming up soon. And it's just like, I got to stop, because friends are such a godsend. Like, seriously, like how much I've learned from people recently, and friends are such a godsend, and they're so precious. They are so much more precious than I think we care to recognize at times. Isn't it just so cool that we have people in our lives like this? I don't know. And I think also as a sober person, you will grow to see how much it deeply means to you when these certain people are there for you in ways that you've never had illustrated to you by anybody, because you haven't walked this walk yet. And if you feel lonely, it's because you've grown. You're growing out of your life. You're growing into this new life. It's like empty. We're walking into a blank slate. And I think it's important to keep that mentality too, almost like in a Severance Backrooms way, that like you're walking into a bright new hallway. This is a new palette. And it's empty and it's lonely and it's just you. So if you feel lonely, if you feel that way, it's signs that you're growing into this new life. And I always say I leave space for new people. I don't need a ton of things. I leave space for when Maddie meets a new friend up the road. And I only can hope that people come to me naturally. Now, what I look for in people now has nothing to do with sobriety. You don't need to be a sober person to be in my life whatsoever, actually. I prefer people with drug use is different, or with really, really heavy drinking, because it's just like, what do we have to talk about? You know, like, it's too dangerous for me. But I would say pretty much everyone in my life drinks. And are normal drinkers, like people who can just handle it. But I don't look for sobriety in people. I look for people that naturally put me at ease. I look for simply a lot of laughter and a lot of giggling and a lot of realness is what I look for. I like laughter a lot. And people who make me laugh are really, really important to me. So that's what I look for. I look for naturalness, because at this age, why would you choose a new friend when you've had a friend that was standing next to you at the altar, was in your delivery room, or whatever the case is? Why would you choose somebody new? And I think I suffered a lot in that self-deprecating way of, why would they choose me? While I'm looking for new friendships, or always open to them at least, I am happy with what I have. I don't need more people. It's not what I'm getting at. But I am in a new period of my life where that maybe at some point I'll gain some new friendships, as I look at these empty chairs. Gain some new friendships, and being okay with being alone is important, because why would you choose somebody new when you've been with this person since the 5th grade, or you've gained all of this stuff with people? And it's through laughter, it's through getting to know each other, and it's through being willing to be open. So that's all I look for in friendships. I don't require anything of people. I like crazy people, I like outlandish people, I like honest people, and I like real people who say some shit and you're like, what? And they're just like, we're all thinking it. Like, that type of crazy motherfucker is just up my alley. Like, I just love people like that. So it's more important that we're thankful for what we have than we are yearning for the next. That is more important. And sometimes I get lost in that sauce, like we discussed. Or just like little lighthearted people in my life that aren't close to me, but you know, we hang out. And I'm learning more so how beautiful and beneficial that is, and how important it is for me to be immersed in women at every chance I get. Ellie has been so good today. She is laid on the couch the whole time. What should we give her? Anyways, almost done. And see, I feel so wrong for admitting all those things, and I think it paints me out to be a really bad person. But I just want to be honest, and I want you to see you're not alone. And I've struggled with the depths of friendship and with the depths of this for so long, and people don't illustrate love the way I just illustrated it. People don't care that much, but so many do. And I want to remind you that you ain't shit, and there are so many people that view friendship in a similar way you do, and want to uplift you and care for you. And again, it's trust. It's asking for the right people to enter your life at the right time, to attract and never to chase. And I know we end on that note a lot, but keep the people that are close to you very close. And if you're struggling with friendship, trust and ask, and understand people come into our life at the right time. Understand that I am 25 years old. You were probably in your 20s or something. You have so much life left to live. We have so much life. We haven't met so many people that will be the closest to us in the entire world. And I think about that all the time. It's like, I haven't even met, like, and I've said before, I pray for my kids. I pray for my husband. Haven't met those people yet. I might not have met who will be my best friend one day. Maybe I get really close. Like, who, it's just like the world is endless and we have so much life to live, and feeling lonely is very real. But I think it just instills hope, and it instills hope in me when I feel lonely and when I feel isolated and I feel like people don't understand me, especially as a sober person. So I just want to give you hope and remind you that there is always tomorrow. And it's important to remember that tomorrow might just bring the thing that saves you. And the thing, I've said that before, and I know it's crazy, but it's a way for me to look at life in a healthy manner, is that I might not want to keep pushing. I might not want to make any friendships. I might just want to fucking call it a day, but we never know what tomorrow brings. And that's so true, because tomorrow could be the other side of everything changing for you, and finally all of your hard work or whatever it is paying off, or that friend just walking in the door when you needed them most. So I don't know. I just think we expect too much of people. So is that all I have to say today? If you're my friend, I'm very thankful for you. If you're a friend that I hang out with sometimes and is not that close to me, I really love you. And that was me illustrating what I've grown out of in a lot of ways, okay? I'm not that person anymore, and I'm not using you. If you're in my life, I want you to know that I'm not using you. But I'm very, very thankful for my friendships, and they clearly mean so much to me. So if you're my friend, I love you. And if I don't see you a ton, I really love you too, a lot. I think my friend, another friend of mine, her name is Kelly, I think she showed me this too. Kelly and I share a relationship. She lives in Georgia. Kelly and I share a relationship where we don't see each other for a very long time, but we are like tied together. It's just how we operate. We won't see each other for long extended periods of time, but we are meant to be in each other's life at some capacity and in some way. And I think there's so many people in my heart that I carry around with me. I carry their spirit. I carry their love and laughter in my little locket of my heart. But I don't see them. And I think it's very important to recognize that, and recognize that we carry people with us even when we don't see them. We carry these friendships with us. So yeah, there are so many people we're spiritually connected to, and it takes being open to that and open to the understanding of that relationship. And I pray for her all the time. There's so many people that are tied to me that I think of and I pray for, and I'll even try to send them a little love from me today if you can, and I moved around a lot in my life, so I think that has a lot to do with it too. I'm just very crazy today. Do you guys like my shirt, or is it anyways? I love you guys, and I encourage you to set time aside, spend it with your girlfriends, and be honest with them. And if somebody is hurting you, they're breaking your boundaries, they're making it difficult for you, it's not a friend. And friends can be overbearing. Friends can put things on your plate that don't need to be placed there, and they can overanalyze you. So just be careful. And I love you guys, and I love all my friends. Oh my God, I kind of don't want to end this right now, but bye guys. I'll see you next week. Love you.